Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Scott Jibb, and we're sitting here as council today. We are in the presence of several staff members, including both our clerk and deputy clerk. I'd like to call this meeting to order exactly 1 o'clock. Our first item on our agenda is our land acknowledgement statement. Township of Hamilton is situated within the traditional territory of the Mississauga, Nishnabek, and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nation. Our work in these areas respectfully acknowledges their resilience and their long-lasting contribution to the area now known as the Township of Hamilton. Our next item of business is our confirmation of our agenda. Prepared reads that the agenda for the council meeting held on July 15th, 2025 be approved. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by John, second by Larry. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 5 on our agenda. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof today? Seeing none, that will be recorded. To my knowledge, we do not have anyone on Zoom or in the audience that wishes to speak on the agenda item today. So we'll move on to item 7 is presentations and delegations. There are none. We'll move on to item 8, which is a motion to move into public meeting. The motion is it's recommended the Council of Corporation Township of Hamilton acts as follows. The council move into a public meeting under Section 357 of the Municipal Act and Section 34 of the Planning Act at 2 p.m. on July 15th, 2025. Move in a seconder, please. Moved by Bruce, seconded by Mark. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. The public meeting, our first item is an application for cancellation, reduction, or refund of taxes under Section 357, 1DI, the Municipal Act. It is in respect to property location 5431 Lakeshore Drive. I believe we're going to say that's Harwood. Is there anyone here in support of that? Anyone here that's opposed to that? Is there anyone seeking clarification? Seeing none, we'll move on. Item 8.3, zoning bylaw, 4682 Cole Road, part lot 25, concession 7, being 39R 1393, parts 8 and 9. Is there anyone here in support of that application? And if I were to our clerk, would we like names of people that are here in support?
Yes, however, would you like give an overview of the application?
I would, I believe. However, I didn't realize that she had returned from overseas. My apologies, Jennifer. Please, if you would come to the microphone. We were going to try and move on without you. Like you left us hanging a little bit last week. Not to embarrass you in any way.
I'm not embarrassed,
I'm sure you wouldn't be. The microphone is yours.
but I apologize for missing last week. This is an application for a zoning bylaw amendment that pertains to a property at 4682 Cole Road. This property was subject to a consent application BO125 approved by the Committee of Adjustment on April 8th, 2025. And the severed off a surplus farm dwelling. There are a number of agricultural buildings on the retained parcel. The property is located on the Oak Ridges Moraine, and as such, the severance of the surplus farm dwelling is permitted. However, the retained agricultural lands have to be rezoned to prohibit any future residential development. In addition, the existing livestock barn encroaches onto the municipal road allowance, and several of the grain bins are closer to the road than are permitted by the zoning bylaw. They've been there for a number of years. So the proposed zoning recognizes the existing setbacks for those structures and prohibits any residential development on the retained lands. And the severed parcel is being rezoned to the rural residential zone, which permits a single detached dwelling in accordance with, it's not being rezoned to the rural residential. I changed that after I wrote the report. It's being changed to an Oak Ridges Moraine linkage exception zone. I shouldn't use a rural residential zone on the Oak Ridges Moraine, so it's being rezoned to an Oak Ridges Moraine linkage zone. That's reflected in the bylaw that's before council today, and a single detached dwelling will be permitted in that exception zone in accordance with the rural residential zone provisions. So the recommendation is that this application be approved. It's consistent with the provincial planning statement, the county and the township's official plans, and it went through an agency circulation. The only comment that arose during the agency circulation was Northumberland County requested road widening as a condition of the zoning bylaw amendment. But I explained to the county that our official plan does not contain the provisions required to have additional zoning. So we can't do it as a condition of zoning, so they understood that. There were no public comments that were received. The application was circulated to all landowners within 120 meters of the property on June 25th, and a sign was posted on June 16th. So the recommendation is that the property be rezoned in accordance with the zoning bylaw that is presented before council.
Thank you, Jennifer. We'll kick back in with the question that we were getting towards a minute or two ago. Was there any support of the application? And please, for the purposes of our documentation, could we use and addresses? And maybe for the audience that could be listening to this later, we'd ask you to come on. And of course, if you wish to say anything, this is the opportunity to do so.
Pat Linton, 7893 Cabot Road, and I'm in support.
Thank you.
Did you leave the mic on? Yep.
Alan Cole, 4682 Kohler Road.
And obviously, support, Mr. Cole.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that's opposed to this application? Is there anyone in the audience seeking clarification on this application? Seeing that, we'll move on to the next application, which is Stallwood Homes, 4836 45. Jennifer, are you coming back to the podium and bring us an overview again, please?
Certainly, through you, Mayor Jim. This application applies to a property located at 4836 County Road 45. This property was subject to 4 consent applications: BO 325, BO 425, BO 525, BO 625, which were conditionally approved by the Committee of Adjustment last month on June the 10th. Those applications created 4 new urban residential lots ranging in size from 0.73 hectares to 1.19 hectares and a 1.97 hectare retained parcel. Purpose of the property is already zoned urban residential first density, but the property is being rezoned to an urban residential first density, or special urban residential first density 35 holding zone, to ensure that a condominium agreement is put in place prior to development of any of the severed lots. So they won't be able to construct on any of those severed lots until the condominium agreement has been executed. And that is because there is going to be a condominium road which is going to provide access or entry to all of the individual lots. While the lots have frontage on both Dale Road and County Road 45, the topography is challenging there, so the access is going to be via an internal private condominium road. And the exception zone will also will permit entrance onto the private condominium road, because right now our zoning bylaw contains provision where a property that fronts on a municipally maintained road has to have access from that municipally maintained road. So with this application, or with this zoning bylaw amendment, the land zone special urban residential 35 will be able to be accessed via the private condominium road. And with this zoning bylaw amendment, 15 meters from both County Road 45 and County Road 17 are being placed in a environmental protection zone to ensure that no structures are built within that area due to the Northumberland County comments and concerns regarding structures in close proximity on slopes, in close proximity to the county road. So the application was circulated to a number of agencies, and there were no objections raised during that circulation. The application was circulated to all registered landowners within 120 meters of the property on May 22nd, and a sign was posted on the property, and no public comments have been received. The application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, the county official plan, and the township's official plan. So the recommendation is that the zoning bylaw amendment be approved.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Turning to the audience, I see our agent here from this application. Is there anyone here in support of this application? Please, for the record, and your opportunity to comment if so wished.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Anthony Dew. I'm a partner with Starwood Homes, 9673 Beaver Meadow Road, Hamilton Township. I am available if anyone has a question.
Thank you. Is anyone in the audience opposed to the application? Is there anyone in the audience seeking clarification? Sir, I'm sorry, I don't know you. Please come to the microphone and ensure that it's on. State your name and address, and please feel free to speak.
David Slack, 12 Fairfield Drive. I'm concerned about this, or it needs some clarification. Several, I guess 2 years ago, this council passed a bylaw that says any new development has to have its own water system. Now we understand that they're going to be able to hook up to the Creighton Heights system. That's it. Contradiction to the bylaw that you passed several years ago, or a couple of years, whenever it was during COVID. The other issue I have is I want clarification to ensure that the township funds are never going to be used to service this private road. We've all seen the mess that Starwood Homes makes on the roads. If you look at McCarty and that, you can see that it's been ripped up and cut up and everything else, and it's now probably up to the township to repair it at some point. So that's what clarification. Number one, has the bylaw that you instituted a few years ago been amended so that this property can have water system? And two, can we have some clarification that there's no public funds going to be used on this road?
I think there's really 3 points there. I will turn the first point to our planner, I believe, who will have that information. Thank you, Mr. Slack. And yes, we'll provide the microphone space for our staff. Jennifer, if you could address question 1, please. And we may need or maybe our CAO or someone like that they're available as well.
I am not aware of a bylaw that was passed prohibiting connection to the Baltimore or Creighton Heights water treatment system. It was confirmed with the manager for water services that there is capacity to service the 4 additional dwellings. And I know that other dwellings have been connected over the past few years into the system. I believe a couple of years ago, it was probably more than 2, an official plan amendment was passed that allowed for development to be serviced by private water, but it didn't require that they be serviced by private water. That was the first point. And
Maybe if we could just stay there, Jennifer, for a second, we can get an additional comment from our CAO. If you would, please, Arthur.
Speaking. Thank you very much, Councillor Butters. To you, Mayor Jib, that's correct. Both of those observations were correct. We passed a secondary plan several years ago, which permitted development in the Baltimore settlement area via private services, if in fact that was an option or required, or it provided that flexibility for the owners of the land in those areas. And that was again via a secondary plan. There was no bylaw passed to prohibit connection to the system. In fact, we've been working with our water department to make improvements and to permit additional units and development on the Baltimore system to in fact use that public service in our community. So I can confirm both the comments that have been made by our planner, Jennifer Curran, to support those points.
Thank you, Arthur. Jennifer, moving on to question 2. You have referenced that in your report, of course, and Mr. Slack,
Yep.
I would like to obviously hear that one more time.
Certainly, through you, Mayor Jib. It will be a condominium road that services the 4 lots plus the 1 retained parcel. And that condominium road will be serviced and maintained by the condominium corporation, which will be the 5 lots benefiting parcels. And the municipality will not be responsible for repairing or servicing that road at all.
Thank you. And Jennifer, you may be able to answer what was alluded to as the third question, but not put forward as a question. And that is that there are roads that are in Deerfield subdivision that are not assumed by the municipality. Are you privy to that knowledge? And could you answer that question of mine based on the comment from Mr. Slack?
I believe that the Deerfield, most of the roads within Deerfield have not been assumed by the municipality at this point in time. And prior to their assumption, a number of steps have to be taken, which include inspections, and they have to be up to the standards before they're assumed by the municipality. So if any improvements or repairs need to be made, those repairs have to be made before the municipality is done.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I'll turn to our other staff and I'll look towards Arthur or possibly our roads manager. Would either of you like to provide a comment there as well?
Through you, Mayor Triven, this is working now. Thank you. Same comments that the roads in that subdivision are presently not assumed by us. Once they would be, that would change the possibility in the future, but they're not at present. And we'll be working with the developer to ensure that there are no costs outside of what it would have be normally expected in the development of the land and the condominium development in the future. So it's supporting both the comments provided by Jennifer Curran on that issue.
Thank you, Arthur. Moving on this application, is there anyone in the audience seeking clarification? Very well. Thank you all. Moving on to 8.5, it's simply a motion to rise back into regular. The council rise from a public meeting under Section 34 of the Planning Act, Section 357 of the Municipal Act, and reconvene to a regular meeting of council at 1:20 p.m. on July 15th, 2025. I have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Mark, seconded by Bruce. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to Section 9 of our bylaw, being the actual Section 9 of our agenda, being the bylaws. Carried motion under Section 9.1, bylaw 2025-26, being a bylaw to approve zoning bylaw amendment 02-24. Cole be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 15th day of July 2025. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Larry, seconded by John. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. 9.2, zoning bylaw 03-25. The bylaw reads, the motion reads, the bylaw 2025-27 being a bylaw to approve zoning bylaw amendment 0325, Stallwood Homes, be given the first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 15th day of July 2025. I have a mover and a second. Moved by Mark, seconded by Bruce. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Ten on our agenda, dealing with previous council meeting minutes. That the minutes of the June 17th, 2025 council meeting be adopted. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 12 on our agenda, because there is no business arising from those previous minutes. The motion under 12.1 is that agenda items 12.2, 12.7, the July 15th, 2025 council meeting agenda be received for information. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Mark, seconded by John. All those in favor? Carried. Does anyone wish to pull anything from that 12.2 to 12.7 for further discussion? Larry, please.
I just want to bring up 12.6 library. The report there is noted. I want to bring to everyone's attention that I just want to bring everybody's attention to the fact that last week
On 12.6.
12.6, the library board, that last week we did what we call a soft launch of the library in Cold Springs. It's a very successful event. And, just to note, on that day, they did a lot of promoting, and there was a lot of response from the community, very positive. They had 62 people arrive that day, and they checked out 45 items, and it was all kinds of activity that day, and we look forward to ongoing library services in Cold Springs, and they're going to be providing that service once a week on Wednesdays. So I think that's going to be a great addition to our community. And the other thing is that I just want to thank Trevor and his team for helping the library get the old Cold Springs Hall up and running again. And we look forward to further activity. One other thing was that on that particular day, the activity in the playground area was, there was kids playing everywhere on that park. So anyway, that's all I have to say, and thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Yeah, it's nice to hear good news like that. And not everyone will know, of course, the space they're using is the new council room that was located in Cold Springs. Moving on to 13.1, Public Works and Infrastructure. If it gets any brighter in here, Lucas, we're going to have to get you to park those sunglasses because there's a glare coming off them you wouldn't believe. Council, the motion under 13.1 is the council received report Public Works and Infrastructure 2025. Public Works garage expansion for information. And we're going to get you to comment on this as we finish reading this motion. And that council approves a budget of $514 for the Public Works garage expansion to be funded from the roads facility reserve of $220,000 and $294,000 for development charges. Now, could I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor, please? Seconded by Bruce. Thank you. Lucas, overview, please.
Good afternoon, Council. The report is presented in front of you regarding a Public Works garage expansion. This project has been discussed for, I think, a couple of years now. We did review this um, with very much detail. We looked at different options, solutions, locations regarding this expansion. We did review it with staff. We provided some pylons, some paint out in the Public Works area. Discussed it with staff because there were different ideas and tabletop locates, or not locates, tabletop areas where this expansion could be. But we all did agree to this area where this expansion would be. An aerial image on this report to show the approximate location. It may alter a little just because of some underground utilities in the area, but we are very comfortable to indicate this the location that we would prefer to build this Public Works garage. I am here to answer any other questions that may arise.
Thank you, Lucas. Question from Council, John.
Through you, Mayor Jim. Hold it, I don't put you back. Back when we did the budget back in early fall, you estimated $825,000. Now you've got to save $311,000. How do you reach that figure? I understand that you did have several meetings, but did you cut down the basics? What was the facility?
So through you, Mayor Jim, we did review the details of the unit prices, the costs. Within the original scope of work, there was significant money allocated for hot mix paving of the parking lot. So through that project, for 800 and some thousand, whatever that original budget request was, I believe, I'd have to pull it up on my laptop here, but I believe there's about $250,000 worth of asphalt paving of the parking lot. So that is where there's a difference in value or budget numbers. There is some contingency in there just to do some restoration around the building, but we're not, this budgetary number would be just to make 10 meters of asphalt in and around the perimeter of the building. So it doesn't include the entire parking lot.
Hello?
Sorry, just a follow-up question. Maybe I don't think Lucas can't answer this, but maybe Nezra's not here. So I'm kind of curious. Development charges. I know that we've been or actually put them out to different parks and recreation. I'm concerned of how much we do have left in the contingency fund, and also the parks, the road as well. How much will that decrease that to a certain point where we can't use it anymore?
That was that question and conversation actually took place previously at coordinators, and I believe we're going to have an answer from our CAO on that. Or both, Lucas and I.
The issue came up, thank you, Mayor Jib. The issue is, the Mayor mentioned, they come up Public Works coordinators, and we investigated both matters while Nazareth's away, followed up with finance staff, as well as a consultant that deals with development charge allocations. I can confirm that both the reserve for development charges will not be in a negative position, and similarly, the Public Works capital funding reserve that is set up will not be in a negative position as well. So we're looking at making draws on both accounts, certainly, but they will both still be a positive situation, and I believe also with the contributions this year, they'll be back in a perhaps a slightly positive situation next year. I'll let Lucas, if I may, further clarify that.
So thanks, Arthur. So a little bit more detail. The roads reserve, we have been putting aside $55,000 for a couple years now, I believe. At the end of the balance, there will be $220,000 at the end of this year. We are putting $55,000 into it for 2025 budget. Opening balance for the DC was just over $1 million. We have a total commitment of $713,000, which at the end of this year, there's 294,000. So we will deplete the reserves, but they will not, or the roads reserve will be depleted. But the DC, we will continue to collect that moving forward to continue to build that back up. But we will not be in a negative position. They will be approximately at zero.
While you're here.
John, you're still following up, I'm
Yeah,
sure. I
still
can tell by
following
the
up. Sorry
facial
about that. I'm
expressions.
still following up once I get this microphone working. To me, I don't like that idea of depleting everything right down to zero. Anything can happen to organizations. Have to cover costs. I know that money will probably come from another avenue, but I'm just expressing how I feel. Okay, so that's all I have to say. Thank you.
I forgive me for bouncing in here, but as it's been stated, this was discussed, those exact points at coordinators. There's two things that maybe we need to realize right here, maybe reflect a little bit on this. First of all, this is a budget number. This is not a quote. This is not an estimate. It's also going to be, before we know it, get quotes back, it's going to be September, possibly at the earliest. And it's a question whether construction would be able to start 2025. As such, this money, it's going to be different. And we optimistically think it's going to be lower because we're tempted to make a budget number higher than what the reality is. Do we know that for sure? Absolutely not. But we're optimistic that the actual dollar value of the project will be less than what's on this piece of paper. And that's where the contingency component comes in. We also are not sure that construction will start in 2025. So there is the opportunity for a buildup of money at the end of the year into both of these accounts prior to us using it. The other component is, and John, you had concern about reducing it to zero. I think you've sat here enough to know how I feel when it gets below zero. Matter of fact, I think everybody in this room will know how I feel when it gets below zero. The other component of this is that even if the project starts in 2025, not all money will be used in 25 because at least the project won't be done in 25. The other component is if we needed to, we can phase this project. We can get the foundation in. We could get the foundation and the structure in. The balance of the work could be done another year in another budget from an upgraded reserve and development charges account. Those are all options in the future. The only other comment I want to take, which is non-money, is that after a lot of discussion with a lot of people, a lot of debate, and a lot of ideas, this project represents a duplication of the exact building that we have size-wise as the cold storage building on the east side of the works yard that we did, I don't know, 35 or so years ago. So it turns out that we've come full circle to get right back to where we are. So if anyone has or wishes to have a mental picture, you don't need to create it. You can physically go there and see what it is, size, dimension, and the capacity of that building. I'll quit commenting there. John, do you have any further follow-up, or does anyone else have any other questions? Larry, please.
Mr. Mayor, are there any future requirements from a capital standpoint, 26, that would impact, the use of these monies?
At this time, no. This was discussed even at the 2025 budget. So using these reserves and these DCs, I do not see any significant, there won't be any, I believe, any requests for 2026 budget would have impact on these DCs or reserves. And I would like to just to follow up to Mayor Jib. This is a budgetary number. We are still as staff, we're still going to have to go through the procurement process. So either it's going to be a tender, RFP, some sort of detail there for the public for bidding process. So there still will be information likely back at coordinators when if it is passed, that regarding the tender or RFP submissions and discussing next steps at that time.
Mark,
Lucas, will this hold all the remaining equipment that's currently outside that's been weathered, and especially our newer equipment like the larger equipment that we have that's of great value?
So with this project, yes, it will house all of our existing assets with the provisional item of any additional resources or assets that we purchase in the future. So this will build a little bit bigger to accommodate any future growth as well.
Arthur?
Just if I may, one, I hope, final comment is this is an item we've talked about for some time. We've been putting money aside in our budget. I realize the substantial amount of money that it involves and the sources of that funding. But it is one that Lucas in particular has done a lot of homework, research, presented the numbers. It is, as the mayor has mentioned, something that will be similar to what we've seen. We know it works. It will hold a lot of the equipment. And that's really the goal of this project. It has been for several years, is to get our equipment in a protected space, allow us the flexibility to use that space, moving equipment in and out of the main building, but to ensure that our resource is protected going forward. And that's the purpose of this project. And we'll bring back, we hope, some good quotes to be able to then have council have a look at and be able to proceed with the project and make it very cost effective.
Question on process, if I might. If this is considered for approval here today, which is what the ask is, what are our next steps? Obviously, Lucas, you've indicated going out, get bid prices, quotes, RFPs. Once they are received, what happens? Will that not only come back to committee, but come back to council for approval? Or if it's within budget, do staff members move forward with the project?
I believe through our procurement update that if the budget is passed and it's under budget, staff have the ability to proceed with the works and to award it. Not saying that we won't present something to coordinators, so if council would see that the budget and the discussions and the bids that were submitted, but I do not believe it has to come back to council for official award.
And if we were to think back to that procurement bylaw, there's a percentage in there that can fluctuate as well, which I recall to be 10%. To come back to council. And I will put a question mark at the end of that because that's not reading a document in front of me, but rather going by memory. If
So to you, Mayor Jim, yes, there's a small adjustment to allow us if the figure or the final amount is slightly over the budgeted amount, it allows me on behalf of the corporation to approve that amount. But if it's substantially different, we will be coming back to council.
that gets me to the comment that I truly want to make. If that's substantial over 10%, puts our funds below zero, I would like to come back to consideration. It's not in the motion, but I believe everyone would understand my position on that, and possibly some in the room would even agree with that. Okay. Any other questions? Any other follow-up? Any other comments from anyone? Okay. Motion on the floor is to approve. Been moved and seconded. Discussed. Those in favor of the motion? It is carried. Thank you. 13.2, community safety zones. Again, I'll read the motion to put it on the floor. Council receives report Public Works and Infrastructure 2025-07, community safety zones for information. The council directs staff to publish notice on community safety zones on Kennedy Road from County Road 18 to 500 meters north of Taylor Road, Jib Road from Kennedy Road to Albert Valley, Burwash Road from 100 meters east of Overlook Heights to the gully, and the gully from Burwash Road to 100 meters west of Burwash Road. Within these community safety zones, the posted speed will be reduced to 40 kilometers per hour and publish notice on the municipal website and prepare a bylaw for presentation at the September 16th, 2025 council meeting. And further, that staff be directed to post the appropriate signage in this area. Over in the seconder place, moved by Mark, seconded by John. For discussion, any comments or questions? John, please.
Yeah, through Mayor Jeb. I know that we've had a lot of complaints, emailed back and forth with concerned citizens and whatever. And I'm glad to see that Lucas is moving forward with this in such a fashion. Even if the schools are not in, but we should have something up there for the public use of the zones. And I'm glad that you included Baltimore School as well. So thank you very much.
Jimmy, I just got to read this so I have a true understanding of where it is in Baltimore. So give me a second if you. Lucas, I'm having trouble with the understanding of the last part, and from the gully from Burwash Road to 100 meters west of Burwash Road. I'm not getting that. Sorry, Lucas, could you?
Mayor, it's the section on Gully Road off of 45. So as you come off the gully, come off County Road 45 up the gully, that will be the section that will be a notice saying you're entering the community safety zone near the school, and then the Burwash will be the section in front of the school just east of Overlook Heights. So the two roads that kind of are around the perimeter of Baltimore Public School will be the community safety zone.
So what we're doing is we're starting at the top of the hill where the church sign used to be, going down the gully 100 meters. Does that take us right to 45?
Close.
Okay. And there's no thought that it should be the whole thing right to 45, or is that
There's
room for interpretation?
There's a bunch of commercial or not commercial, but a parking lot in there and stuff. So just as you come off 45, there isn't a lot of room to add any signage. So it's just beyond get into the gully by the I think building there, right near that area.
It could even be an old fire hall.
Maybe.
Okay, so it's the signage component that you're helping me with. Thanks, Lucas. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you.
Mayor, if I just
Please
go back one item that we talked about with respect to your concern about the budget and the overages amounts. Just to clarify that the updated policy from earlier this year allowed the contract to be executed provided the overage does not exceed the lesser of 10% of the budget or $10,000. So those are the parameters. But again, to the point that you made, if there's substantial difference between the approved amount of the budget, this process, and the impact it might have on our reserves, we will come back to council with an update.
Thank you. I had forgotten about that $10,000 component of that. Thank you, Arthur. Okay, moving on to 14.1, Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund. Motion reads that council receives report Parks 2025-02, Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund for information. The Township of Hamilton commits an additional $75,000 from the Recreation Facility Reserve and development charges to the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund. Mover and a seconder, please. Am I reading this right? Yes, we need to move in a seconder on that. Moved by Bruce, seconded by Mark. Any questions or comments? Larry, is that a question from yourself? Yes, please.
Through Mr. Mayor, just to clarify that with the addition of the 75,000, we're now at 150,000 that we're going to be matching with the province. So 300, what's the total on that then?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, you're correct there. Last fall, we come to council looking for 75,000 for a $150,000 project, and when we reviewed or we submitted the application, it turned out that it was 150,000, an additional 75,000. At that time, we chose to submit the grant, and if successful, come back to council. And where MVP Pacini's office put a statement out this morning, I think public know that we were successful in that application. So we're here today for that additional $75,000 to make that $300,000 project. 150 from the Ministry of Sport and Tourism, and 150,000 from the township.
Larry, follow up?
Just to follow up, I think it's important to note that will bring our facilities, the ground facilities, to scratch, more usable, more safe, more effective in the long term. So kudos to the Parks and Recreation Department. Thank you.
Mark.
I was just going to add to that. Trevor, you don't get often a time to boast or throw out some good news. So maybe you'd just like to tell who's here, what the projects are, and how many.
So what we're looking at doing is a project. It was identified in the master plan for walkway lighting of the walking path of Baltimore. We're looking at the infield material of the baseball diamonds, turning it into a clean trail. We're looking at additional seating and pavilion areas around the park. And also we're going to look at kind of redoing the walking track. Right now, the walking path, which is heavily utilized, goes out into the parking lot around by the Zamboni Arena. So we want to reroute that so that we're not taking pedestrians out into the parking lot. Keep them separate from that. And then we'll be looking at the high efficiency, obviously, lighting that will be on timers and sensors. So the lights are set to, as you come forward, they come on. If there's nobody there, they'll go down to like a 30% lit, and then they will shut right off for time we deem suitable for the time of year.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Perfect.
Thank you.
We better see if everyone's in favor of this motion. All those in favor? Thank you. Trevor was saying thank you. We had the business all done here. Corporate services. Section 15 of our agenda. Applications per section 357, the Municipal Act for refund of property taxes, property location being the 05431 Lakeshore Drive. Motion reads, the Council of the Township of Hamilton receives report T 2025-12 applications per 357 Municipal Act for refund of property taxes, and the council approves the write-off property taxes for the total amount of $2,023.21 for the 2024 tax year, of which $902.11 is the municipal portion. All those in favor? John? Yes. Moved by John, seconded by Mark. Then I'll say all those in favor. Question?
Just for my own understanding, we're changing the ownership of the farm tax incentive has been removed. Does this imply that all the properties on Lakeshore are residential farmland tax implications? Maybe.
Who are we going to send that question to today?
No, well, I'll take that on behalf of Mayor Chip. No, what it is the individual has to qualify for farm tax incentive. When a property is sold, that doesn't go with the property, it goes with the individuals who made that application. You have to qualify, meet certain requirements of the program. So when it was transferred, that category was removed. They then had recognized that the tax status had changed. They've made a reapplication to MPAC, and MPAC has approved it with the recommendation to us, to council, and then subsequently approved.
Okay, thank you very much.
You do not have to declare anything.
Just for clarity, because I was stuttering over here and we've had a little discussion there. We've got the motion read, we got a mover and we got a seconder. The next order of business is all those in favor of the motion. Okay, thank you. 15.2, regarding intermunicipal task force on housing and homeless. Report's been circulated, of course. And the recommendation is that council receives report PLN 2025-23 for information and discussion. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by John, seconded by Bruce. Okay. Questions or comments? Mark?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. I had a chance to converse with staff before this meeting, and there's some clarification given. And I believe, Jennifer, maybe you'd like to add that they're in support of the recommendation that has come from the task force, not the report itself. And we're not asking for that support at this time. It'll go back for staff to work with other staffs to come up with recommendations. So Jennifer, you'd just like to add on to that.
Please go ahead.
Certainly, through you, Mayor Jib. I misunderstood the assignment. I went ahead of schedule. I reviewed the recommendation from the task force on housing and homelessness with council motion earlier today, and I thought that they had been asking for an endorsement of the recommendations contained in that report, not that staff work with other staff members in other municipalities to present options for implementing or finding solutions that would deal with those recommendations. So that's why I went sort of a little further ahead in my report, and I pointed out that there were problems with some of the recommendations and that sort of thing. But I don't take issue at all with working with other municipalities and staff towards the recommendations that are presented in the report. And in that to support that, I would suggest that my recommendation should have the following addition, and that council support the proposed motion as put forward by the Intermunicipal Task Force on Housing and Homelessness. They had presented a recommendation to council last, I guess it was a couple of weeks ago. I left it at my desk there, or in the chair. And basically it says that staff will work with other municipalities towards achieving the recommendations, or working towards whatever recommendations we feel are appropriate and align with the municipality's goals and objectives. So I am suggesting that recommendation be added to the recommendation contained in my report. I apologize for that.
Thank you, Jennifer. I got to admit, I was reviewing that proposed motion that was before council last month, and I was on the same road that you were on, which concerns me at this point in time, because you're not the only one in the room that would have taken the route that you have with the report that's in our agenda package. Are we 100% sure that the present train of thought is correct?
I have, through you, Mayor Jib, I have the motion as submitted by them here. If you wish, I can read it for
That
you.
would be beneficial to me, and I don't know if I'm the only one in the room or not, but maybe it would help several.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that council receive the Northumberland Housing Solutions Workshop Summary and Recommendations Report for information, and that council directs senior planning staff and the chief administrative officer, CAO, to participate in a Northumberland County Housing implementation strategy session to review the document and provide written feedback to the task force no later than October 1st, 2025, specifically identifying 1, actions to be taken at the municipal or intermunicipal level that address the identified challenges within the report, and 2, actions that align with any initiatives already in progress at the municipal or intermunicipal level, and 3, specific zoning bylaws and official plan amendments that could be implemented that increase flexibility and accelerate housing development. And that council directs staff to consider the recommendations from the Northumberland Housing Solutions Workshop Summary Recommendations Report and the action items from the Northumberland County Housing Implementation Strategy session in the ongoing official plan review process, with particular attention to increasing flexibility in municipal planning, streamlining processes for repeat development, and strengthening communication in planning processes. And that the mayor send a letter on behalf of the council to the Intermunicipal Task Force on Housing and Homelessness, expressing support for their collaborative approach and commitment to addressing the housing crisis in Northumberland County.
Please, my comfort level hasn't come high yet. Mark, please.
This motion was actually presented when the report was presented back when we did the committee of the whole. Then it was kind of lost when it came to the next meeting. So I just want to be sure that you've got the actual motion that was presented.
I'm not so sure that I do have the exact motion that was presented. Does everyone sitting at this horseshoe have the exact motion that was presented? And that's the total motion, lock, stock, and barrel. There's some emphasis on some words there that I personally either am misunderstanding or I have concern with. However, I will defer to the rest of you in the room because I could very well be one that's heading down the wrong road. So, Mark, please, and then we'll go to our.
I'll just clarify. I mean, all this the committee is really asking in short-term words is that we have some staff involvement to meet with other staff throughout the county and come back with recommendations from that original report. Some may be doable in our municipality, some may not. Some may be doable in Cobourg or Port Hope, and some may not. So it's just an ask, and it's to hopefully speed the process up so that planning can be done in a little more efficiency and a little better throughout the county and our own municipality, hopefully too. But you know, we're really relying on Jennifer's input and perhaps Tim's input, because Tim would be input, along with Arthur's input, because some of the municipalities don't have this planning staff that ours has. So we're really, really relying on their input at those meetings. And you know, they have expertise that some do. And I do know that there is one municipality that doesn't have a planning department at this moment. So there's issues up there with other municipalities, and you know, that can happen anywhere when staff come in. Well, you can't always help that, but that's the hope. And nothing's getting approved from that report today. It's just that staff look at the report, come back with recommendations.
I'm pleased you added that little summary at the end. When I look at a motion like that, and I think you started your comments off about the short version of this. I don't consider that a short version. There's a lot of room for interpretation. In your summary, I personally am good, but I think we have several other people that want to provide comment. Arthur, we had your hand first, unless you want me to defer to our council.
I'm hoping through you, Mayor Jim, I'm hoping my quick comments will help answer questions that may be coming up, but obviously I don't want to preempt any comments members of council may have. Our Deputy Clerk, Amanda Miller, was able to pull up the actual recommendations, so you can see it very clearly printed out in front of you, or presented rather before you. And it is, as Councillor Lovshin has mentioned, in summary, we're basically saying that we want you to have the intermunicipal meetings, discuss those actions to make sure that what we're doing already is aligned with the report, as well as what we could be doing to align with the findings of that report, and then looking at possible recommendations with respect to zoning bylaw and official plan amendments, coming back to council with those in the way of a final report or a recommendations back to council. So it's not making a decision on the report. Jennifer was able to pull together an analysis of that in this report today, but we're going back to those recommendations and saying, here are the three high-level things. And I think the fourth one was a letter of support from you as mayor saying good cooperation or appreciative of the cooperation and encouraging further cooperative work.
John and then Larry, I believe both had questions. Larry, do you still have a question?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. That's summary from Arthur is, I think the last paragraph is really what we're talking about. That's the essence of the whole motion. Just that the letter be written to say that we will work together with others. I think you summed it up right there, Arthur. Thank you.
John, do you still have a comment? If you would, please.
Just kind of a comment and question at the same time. I like the report. It's very well written, and it really absorbs into the fact that we do have a problem here in not only Northumberland County, but all other counties as well. The thing I have is this issue the government put on each municipality to come up with a solution to the problem.
You may not have an answer to that.
And I'll make a further comment to that. And I wrote some things down that since 1950, they started the social housing. And in 2011, they changed it to a new terminology many times. And now it comes all of a sudden up with this community, homeless and homelessness and housing or housing homelessness. I find it like a dog chasing its tail. We've had all these years to do certain things, but now all of a sudden it's out of control. So therefore somebody puts their finger out and says, geez, we got to do something about it. I found 8 different agencies who have been working on this and are still vibrant in their communities and in the province. And those 8 communities, I can read them off if you want me to, but there are 8 people or 8 organizations that are taking this path on. And as I said before, we're chasing the dog chasing his tail around the circle here. I'm not saying that you're wrong in what you're doing. We have to come up with some kind of solution in Northumberland County, and we don't have all the knowledgeable people there except for our staff, as far as I'm concerned, that will move forward with this. But we have a solution here. We can't just keep going over things and over things and over things. Somebody has to come up with a solution. Thank you.
I don't believe, and please, if I'm wrong, correct me. Anyone, please correct me. I believe the initiative of this task force and this committee started with a council member and it sort of was at a stalemate for a number of months, even years. It's not that long ago that we asked Mark to be our rep to that committee. And the original thoughts were that it was a parallel committee to others, parallel organization to others. And there was a question initially as to the effectiveness and the efficiency of this. And I think your comment about 8 other agencies has been working on this is support of that original thought. But Mark, you are our rep. You are our rep to this organization. And I think we are hearing you say this objective is to sit down, study, and discuss. And I think we'd be much supportive of that. We don't necessarily know the recommendations or the outcome, which we may need to reflect on. But the ask, if that's all it is to sit down and communicate, and review, then we maybe need to move forward. We've got to move in a second, or don't we, on this? But we do need an amendment to the add-on. And is that okay? I'm not going to read all this.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's not this particular motion. I think Jennifer had some wording that you're able to. It's not the entire word. It's not the entire motion. It's an excerpt from that, right?
And Jennifer, could you just go to just your add-on, please, for clarity? Maybe.
So right now I'm confused. My add-on was the proposed motion that Amanda had on the large screen. that proposed motion right there. That is what I read. That now therefore be it resolved that the council receive the Northumberland Housing Solutions Workshop, etc., concluding with, and that the mayor send a letter on behalf of council to the Intermunicipal Task Force on Housing and Homelessness, expressing support for their collaborative approach and commitment to addressing the housing crisis in Northumberland County.
Okay, so we all have that motion in front of us, and it's on their large screens here for our audience. And we need to have a motion for the amendment, or can we let the previous motion die and put the motion onto this? Clarity from our clerk's department, please.
Just for ease through you, Mr. Mayor, if Councillors Davidson and Butter would withdraw their original motion, and then we can move forward with the one that's presented on behalf.
I'll turn to you and ask that question. Thank you. Bruce? Okay, so we have a motion that's been actually read by our staff. It's on the screen in front of us. I'm not going to go through it again. We have a mover for this motion. On seconder? Questions or comments?
Transparent.
Okay.
So if I may, Mr. Mayor, just for clarity, we should, on top of this, either at the beginning or at the end, recognize the report that Jennifer brought forward. So we'll be receiving that for information and then doing this.
So you want us to strike the motion we just made?
We're just going to add that. Okay?
Okay. You're going to add that after we get a recorded vote on this?
No, I'm just going to add that, and it's going to be entirely recorded.
Okay. So how would you like to do that? I'm not going to read that. We're going to keep this as simple as we can.
Absolutely.
Have you got it done?
I do.
Okay. We'll turn the recorded vote over to you then, please, Daphne.
Thank you. Please kindly say yay or nay. Councilor Butter. Councilor Davis. Councilor
Yay.
Yay.
and Mayor Jill.
Yay.
Carried unanimously.
I'm glad we got clarity because I might have been the only one in the room voting against it with what the information I had in my head. Okay, that's over. Okay, nothing under emergency services, under communications and announcements. Motion to receive communications. The agenda items of 17.2 to 17.8 on the July 15th, 2025 council meeting agenda be received. We have a mover and a second to that, please. Moved by Mark, seconded by John. And we'll ask all those in favor, and we'll come back and see if anybody wants to pull in. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, would anyone like to pull anything of that? 17.2, 17.8? Yeah, 17.8. Okay, so then we will pull out 17.4 that needs a separate motion, right? And 17.5 as well. Oh, these are long motions today. Okay, under 17.4, which is the Northumberland Physician Recruitment Advisory Committee. And the motion reads, whereas council is in receipt of correspondence and report 2025-146 from Northumberland County, inviting each member municipality to nominate one individual to serve as a representative of the newly established Northumberland Physician Recruitment Advisory Committee. And whereas the nominated individual may be a member of council or a community representative with knowledge of local care needs and physician recruitment efforts. Now, therefore, it be resolved, council for the Township of Hamilton acts as follows. Robert Gibson, former township representative to the West Northumberland Physician Recruitment and Retention Board, as well as former chair of the Peterborough Regional Health Center, be nominated to represent the Township of Hamilton on the committee, and that staff be directed to prepare a bylaw for consideration at the September 16th, 2025 council meeting. Appoint Robert Gibson as the Township of Hamilton representative of the Northumberland Physician Recruitment Advisory Committee. And further, Northumberland County be notified of this appointment and contact information of the appointee as requested in the correspondence dated June 25, 2025. Do we have a mover for this, please? Moved by Larry, seconded by Mark. Any questions or comments? Please, Larry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just want to say that as many people, I was one of the members of the board previously before its demise, and so was Robert. But I can tell you that we're only allowed one member. And you can be either a councillor or you can be a member of the community. And I believe that Robert Gibson is well representing us, this board, his background, knowledge, expertise in the area of healthcare, and his commitment to the community in whole, the county. I think we've established a member that we can all be very proud of. So I'll put forward and seize that and welcome Robert if you'll accept that nomination, and we could forward with that. Thank you.
Just so you know, I checked with Robert on my way in, and I knew what his answer was going to be. So this is not this motion's not a futile motion. John, I don't know whether you were indicating you wanted to comment or not. If you do, please.
Just a comment. And when you have time to breathe, to be honest with you, you're very well qualified, and I'm more than welcoming that you really take that position. Thank you very much.
I think we would all echo what's been said on this particular motion. I'll just summarize it by saying thank you, Robert. Okay, all those in favor? Thank you. 17.5. Resolution from A&H regarding West Northumberland Physician Recruitment Board. 2025-0709, Randy Barber, council request for the West Physician Recruitment Board status update financial report. Motion reads that staff be directed to request the West Northumberland Physician Recruitment Retention Board chair to provide to council a form of resolution in support of dissolving the West Northumberland Physician Recruitment Board effective September 30th, 2025. Confirmation that the board and the treasurer for the board that all remaining municipal financial contributions to the board would return to the respective municipalities. We have a seconder, please. All right. Second by John. Comments? Questions? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, that gets us to 18. Under bylaws, motion reads that bylaw 25-30, being a bylaw to appoint Patient Vanderveen as bylaw enforcement officer for the Township of Hamilton, be given first, second, and third reading, and finally passed the 15th day of July 2025. Mover in the second, please. Seconded by Bruce. Questions or comments? I was going to say I've lost them, and I was going to ask that I even pronounce the last name correctly, and if I didn't, my apology. Anyway, we welcome him when he returns, even if it's another day. Move second, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Notice of motions. Any questions? I don't believe there are going to be any. So closed session, and we will take a short recess. Being about 5 minutes to transition into closed. Motion to move a closed session to discuss matters permitted under section 239(2)(e) regarding a legal matter under litigation and potential litigation. And the motion reads the council meeting held on July 15th, 2025, moving the closed session at 2:15 PM under the Municipal Act, Section 239(2)E, litigation, potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Larry, seconded by John. Those in favor? Okay, thank you. And as I said, we'll take a short recess. Okay, we're back in open session, and the report coming out of closed is that we received a report for information. Moving on, our confirmatory bylaw under section 24.1, the bylaw 2025-28 being a bylaw to adopt the proceedings of council meeting held on the 15th day of July 2025, and to authorize its execution be given first, second, and third reading, and finally passed this 15th day of July of 2025. Mover and the seconder, please. Moved by Bruce, seconded by John. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 25.1 on our agenda. Motion reads that the council meeting held on July 15th, 2025 be adjourned at 3:16 p.m. Mover, please.
Oh, you don't want to. Okay, I'll second.
Moved by Larry, seconded by Mark. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.